Hello, everybody. Welcome to Resilience+Rise, the podcast where my goal is to transform or to show adversities can be changed to triumphs, illuminate the extraordinary potential within all of us. I'm your host, Thomas Scaria. I'm a coach, a Resilience+Rise coach, an ultra marathoner, and a firm believer on your next or a current most powerful chapter. Resilience Plus Rise isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. It's a space where ordinary lives become extraordinary inspirations. Together, we explore the transformative power of resilience and the mindset that turns challenges to opportunities. The podcast is a companion to my upcoming book, Resilience Plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset. Coming out early 2025, Feb March. Here we amplify stories of hope, perseverance, success to inspire your journey. We always talk about, hey, let's do this, let's do that. Or people telling us, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? But today, I'm excited to introduce to you an amazing personality, Sarah Dawkins. She's a holistic health coach. She's an author, a multi-award winning entrepreneur. And to back it up, she has been a registered nurse for 20 years, which was the past life of us. For her, the ideology is she understands what it is to be sick, whether it is physical or through our emotional elements. She has healed, whether we are talking about candida, chronic pain, a lot of thyroid issues. I will allow her to talk about depressions also, suicidal thoughts. She believes, and in fact, there is an entire lesson which I'll be putting out on the comments with her links, etc. Do join that. That she has a motto that we can heal ourselves naturally. And as I mentioned, the courses to your own journey to wellness. So let's directly jump to Sarah Dawkins. Welcome to the
Thank,
podcast, Sarah.
thank you, Thomas. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure is all mine having you as a guest. And in fact, once we had connected, I was looking through your background and heal yourself, and I said, "Wow, this is powerful. This is very, very powerful." And I'm so excited, so excited. So, without much ado, as I mentioned, is that I do not have any script of questions, but I wanted to you to tell me, Sarah Dawkins, her journey from being a nurse to a coach that is out to heal the mindset, to heal within. How did it take place? The floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, you're right. It is a mindset shift.
Mhm.
And so I was raised by my parents in the medical model because my mum was a nurse.
Okay.
And I kind of liked what she did. And I felt pulled to that role in caring to help people when they're vulnerable. So I thought nursing would be ideal. So I went into nursing, and my core belief, like my mum's was, and my dad's, when you're sick, you go to a doctor, you get a diagnosis and a pill, and you take the pills and you heal. And that was my core belief. But the thing about our core beliefs is we don't really know them until we become conscious of them. So when I was challenged back in 2005 about
Mhm.
using pharmaceuticals at home by a nurse colleague, I thought it was incredibly strange because we're both in nursing. we both give out pharmaceuticals and use them. So I went home and curiosity got the better of me and started doing some research, and hours turned into days, weeks, months,
Mhm.
and it just went on and on and on. And I found how incredibly resilient our bodies are and how they heal themselves. And if you think about it, when we cut ourselves and bruise ourselves, we never think, I'll go to the doctor, I wonder how I'm going to heal, I need a pill, I need a diagnosis and a prescription. We just allow our bodies to heal. So why can we not use that philosophy that our body heals itself for bigger things? So my research took me down all these channels and opened so many doors, people healing all sorts of different health problems. So I started looking at what I could do myself to start healing, because I'd already suffered from eczema, psoriasis, and acid reflux for a long time, on and off, on and off. And taking pharmaceuticals, just pop the pills, use the steroid cream, thought nothing of it because that's how I was raised, thought that was normal. So I started looking at what can I do instead of using this steroid cream and instead of drinking this medicine for the fire in my stomach. And I found that I could, I stopped taking milk and cut out lactose totally. And I also cut out gluten and did a little bit more walking and a bit more stress reduction. And within 1 month, I'd healed all three of those health conditions. So the
Nice,
research,
nice.
magic,
Can you just repeat that last? What did you cut out?
dairy, lactose, but dairy and gluten,
Okay, please continue.
and de-stressed and did some walking. And in 1 month, I healed all three of those conditions. So now I'm seeing physically tangible results in my own body for what I'm doing, what I'm reading on the internet, and seeing it work within me, seeing my body really work on healing itself outside of just a cut and a bruise. Now I'm healing complaints that I've had for decades just by tweaking my diet and lifestyle. So I started doing further research. I went on to heal chronic pain, candida, bulimia nervosa, underactive thyroid, burned out adrenal glands, and depression with suicidal thoughts. I went on and healed all of that over a period of probably about 10 years, bit by bit by bit. And the thing that I've really learned is that, as Charlotte Gerson says from the Gerson Institute, you can't heal two diseases and keep one. When you support your body to heal, it heals itself. So if we lead a good lifestyle, eat nutritious, bioavailable food, de-stress, take some exercise, we can heal our bodies. But the thing that I really learned was, as a nurse and with my background growing up in that medical model, when I first started thinking about healing, I was just thinking about in that physical plane, the things like nutrition, hydration, exercise, sleep, some deep breathing work. I was in that physical plane, as I like to call it. But what I've found through my own healing and all the research that I've done is I've identified 4 pillars of healing, but there are also 4 pillars of health. And we need to look at not just the physical that I started out and healed the eczema, psoriasis, and acid reflux, but there's the mental, the spiritual, and the emotional pillars. And they all need addressing to stay healthy and to heal.
Let me pause you on that.
Sure.
Now I will take a real hard stop on that particular element. Is that when you mentioned about 4 pillars, I would like to know more about it. But before that, in fact, the other day when I was doing a research about this podcast that we are going to have, and fortunately I came across a beautiful article. I don't know, again, everybody puts out an article depending on how they're looking at it. But there was this person, he was a doctor of great repute, and he mentioned in the last generations, that is whether we are talking about Gen Z or Gen Y, like, in the last 20 to 25 years, before the millennials, Gen Z, yeah, Gen Z, he talks about the parents have become so much of the helicopter parents, and their belief about allopathy is skyrocketing. Even if a kid just sneezes, they want to jump, or they want to run to a doctor, or they want to run to a pharmacy just to give that particular element.
Yeah.
Now, the question over here is that forget about that. But then whether when we talk about our own growing up, allopathy, and still so far that it has been a societal element that, you know what, in case something goes wrong, do take this cough medicine, or take that particular cold medicine, or take this particular thing, paracetamol, wherein people have found out that the dangers it can create within your own self. The alternative medicine or the healings have been always portrayed as, nah, it may work, it may not work. And it's a lot of times people have advocated, of course it is not people, it's the pharmaceutical companies also. I don't know how I'll be looked at on this particular thing, but they have advocated that it is all a lot of times it's pseudoscience.
Yeah.
So now my question over here which comes up is that you have been already in this element of nursing, wherein for me a picture is a nurse coming with a small tray with few tablets already in it, wherein you come from a background wherein allopathy pills, tablets do help you to be that you could be cured. What created that shift, saying that heal yourself is a mantra not only that we as adults can take, but it can be an element that whether it is parents or whether it is any generation can start looking into.
So there's a few points there. What we call alternative medicine now was medicine. And then the Rockefeller Foundation came through and changed all that and discredited what we call alternative medicine now and became the medical model, the pharmaceutical, the petropharmaceuticals. So what used to be classed as medicine in inverted commas became alternative medicine when the Rockefeller Foundation came about. So we still call it alternative medicine, but really it's ancient medicine from ancient wisdom. When we look at what our bodies are capable of and support them on a holistic level, because, you know, when that alternative medicine, that ancient wisdom medicine was around before the Rockefellers, the doctors treated the person as a whole. They looked at everything holistically because our bodies are holistic. And then modern medicine came and it separated it all out into cardiology, pulmonology, oncology, dermatology, neurology, nephrology, and literally pulled our bodies apart. And if you think about it logically and rationally,
Mhm.
our bodies are a whole. Nothing works in isolation. Everything works together. So we have to look at healing as holistic, not pull out and just deal with cardiac or pull out and deal with neurology. It's all interconnected. So you can't, the fact that we've specialized and got specialist doctors just looking at their one organ or their one system, it's not holistic because it's not taking into account the whole of the rest of the body, the nerves, the muscles, the tendons, the brain, the heart, the spleen, the liver. Everything's totally connected. So when we look at healing, we have to look at the body as a whole, including the mind, because the mind is in the body. You know, we think the mind is in the brain, but actually the mind is also in the body. So we have to look at it holistically. And I was never taught that. Growing up in that medical model with my parents, in, you know, with that belief and mindset, And then I was never taught it in nursing school. And then I was never taught it when I was working in the hospital because, you know, I started out as a cardiothoracic nurse. So I was working with
Hmm.
hearts and lungs, and then went on to become a recovery nurse and a acute care nurse. And so we're only ever looking at that one system, that one organ. And that it's when I started my own healing and realized that we needed to step out of just the physical aspects and look at the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual aspects of healing and health. Because to be healthy, we have to address all those four pillars. But I didn't learn that till way down through my own healing journey, doing lots of reading and undertaking lots of inner work. And so the mental health is, unless you want me to ask me a question.
Actually, yeah, there's a question. Sorry for
No,
interruption on
it's
that.
okay.
It's a beautiful talk, but there was a point which came up is that you mentioned, yes, our bodies are capable of healing. And a lot of times, let's put it in the recent past, wherein I have been looking through, whether it's through the news, through the newspaper, or people like the cardiac failures, or the some body part, whether the spleen or the kidney or something else failing. At the indication comes sometimes towards right at the end, wherein they have to be rushed for an emergency. So here the question is that when people talk about the wisdom that comes from the healing, what we now talk about the ancient healing, okay, it is not that we can, because in today's world it's a quick fix. People needs
It
to be,
really is.
yeah, okay. So my question would be coming into, in fact, it would be a segue to the next particular element, is that how do we be proactive in keeping our bodies healthy? And with this, if you could get into the elements of what you have been propagating, the four pillars, it's yours.
It's all about choice. It really is. We get to choose how we live our lives,
Hmm.
but we're not free of the consequences. So 95% of our health problems are metabolic. They come from our diet and lifestyle.
Okay.
So when we're looking at health being proactive and healing being reactive, we need to look at what choices we're making and look at it not from a quick fix situation, because that's what you were alluding to with the Gen Z, and people they've got health anxiety, but they're also focused on taking a pill for a quick fix because they don't want to make long-term changes. It's challenging. So when we decide that actually I'm going to look after this mind and body that I'm in now, it can bring challenges. And when I cut out gluten and dairy, but healed acid reflux, psoriasis, and eczema, it was challenging 20 years ago because there wasn't the gluten-free products available then that there are now. There was some, but they were awful. But the more we know, the better we can do. And it's about understanding what we put into our bodies, as well as what we put onto our bodies, as well as the air that we're breathing, the quality of the air that we're breathing, all affects our health physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So we need to look at, where do I want to be in 10 years, in 20 years? And I was recently reading, a friend of mine online went to visit her mum in a care home, saw this lady who was in a wheelchair, said she couldn't walk, she was in constant pain. And my friend thought she was 90, 95 because she was so old and wizened looking. Turns out she was 72. My friend was 74. So she said she ran home and took a cold plunge and thanked the universe for the choices that she'd been able to make to look after her health.
Hmm.
So it comes, the other part of that as well is that we're kind of conditioned that we need doctors and quick fixes because as we get older, we are going to become infirm and suffer. But why do we need to be infirm and suffer? It's a mindset. If we believe we're going to die at the age of, say, 86, and we're going to have arthritis and heart problems and breathing problems, then we're just bringing it all into
Yep,
ourselves.
it
So,
manifests.
so let's believe that we can live to be 100 or more and be in good health and look after ourselves. Choose nourishing food, nourish your body, nourish your soul, nourish your mind, and heal your past. It's so important to heal our past, because that for me was the key. Once I'd done the physical, I went on and did the mental and then the spiritual. And the mental is about downtime for your mind. So being mindful, practicing gratitude, meditating, but also challenging your mind. So like I live in Spain, learning a new language, doing a jigsaw, doing a puzzle, writing, anything that's challenging your mind as well, to make it work both ways. The spiritual is about coming back into ourselves, to that little voice that we've
Submit.
suppressed, sorry,
Yep. Hmm.
and stop listening to. We need to come back and find that little voice, because it's there for us. People have all sorts of different names they call it. Some people call it God, other people call it inner wisdom, higher self. It doesn't matter what name you
Hmm.
give it, but we've all got this inner voice that we
The
need to
compass was
listen to.
always there.
Yes. But the emotional side of it is about healing our past, because we're all walking through this life with emotional baggage, and it spills out into our daily lives, whether we know it or not. So then when we can acknowledge, accept, forgive, and let go of what's happened to us in the past, we free ourselves of that burden of carrying it round. So the forgiveness isn't for the other person. The forgiveness is for us to offload that weight, so that we don't have to suppress and repress it anymore. And that is truly key to healing, because we've got so much trauma pushed down deep, and it will spill out, whether it's in words, in behaviors, in actions, in temper, in anger. It will spill out, and we will just not know where it's coming from. But it's those repressed emotions.
Wonderful. This actually reminds me of the um, old prayer of the Hoponono, wherein it says, I love
I'm,
you,
I'm
I'm
sorry, please
sorry,
forgive me. Thank you.
but
I love
thank
you.
you. So those
Yes.
particular things, if you make it as a deliberate statement when you're saying, whether you first, they say that first you say to your own self for 10 to 15 minutes of the start of the day,
Yeah.
and then if you got somebody whom you can get in front that you believe has hurt you or you have hurt them, put it on that particular element also. But this again comes to is that if you could just take few moments and tell me about the four pillars that you strongly advocate for, like if there's a summary. I know
So this is the
there is a lot of it, but just being mindful of the time, could you just
sure.
Mhm,
So, well, I've covered the physical, the
mhm.
nutrition, the hydration, the exercise, de-stressing, and some breath work. The mental, meditation, mindfulness, gratitude, but also challenge your mind, learn a language, do some crosswords, do some puzzles. The emotional, heal your past, let go, forgive. And the spiritual, come back to that little voice inside you and listen to it, because it's there for you. And those four pillars can be used to maintain health, but they can also be used for healing.
Beautiful. Thank you. So, guys, this is absolutely, as I say, one of my favorite quotes is the golden nuggets. There's so much of learning, and as I mentioned, is that I'll be putting out Sarah's links in the comments below. Have a look onto it, browse through it, and if it resonates with you, do connect with her. Feel free to ask questions and see if that's something which your vibe is. There's going to be absolute, as I believe, is that it's only when you are bold enough to open up the door, that's when the magic happens, miracles happen. And if you believe, working towards its health is not just physical, as she mentioned, it is mental, emotional, spiritual, everything comes together. And to be a better human, that's one of the main things which takes place. Coming to that, Sarah, Welcome to 2025 as we have started it. What are your plans? What are the elements as you see for the future growth or people who want what's exciting about what's happening? Let's put it in that way.
I believe more and more people are taking control of their health, taking back responsibility. And I'm in awe of that because they want to look after themselves and make better choices. So as a collective, I see that happening.
Okay.
Um, I also personally see AI as working for us, not against us, to a more euphoric rather than a dystopian future. Um, and for me personally, I'm writing another book. Thank you. It's about people's perceptions of empathy. So I'm going to
Mhm.
cover empathy, and it's twofold. Partly is to help bring more empathy into the world, to make more people become more aware of it, and also to help people to distinguish and differentiate between different types of empathy, and to help them to help themselves. And I also see me speaking from more stages and more platforms to keep propagating my message that we can heal ourselves, to help people to believe in themselves and their own ability. And it takes that mindset shift, like I had, from a core belief of I need medicines and doctors to get well, to my body heals itself and I can heal myself. And if
Sure.
I can help people to switch their mindset, more people will take control of their health and become so much healthier and live a much happier and vibrant life.
So, guys, if anybody of your want, you'll have just heard a simple snapshot, a very, very minuscule snapshot. But if you'll want Sarah as a keynote speaker or as a trainer in something that you'll believe in and can make a change, please do connect with her. That's number one. The second thing is, as you mentioned, it was just the other day I had a fascinating conversation with another gentleman, and he told me is that don't you feel the vibration happening around? As you mentioned, is that people are collectively evolving. Maybe it is happening to the Gen Z and the Gen Alpha, which is coming up slowly. Is that when they are seeing different elements, and of course the world is still playing a powerful role trying to suppress that particular thing. But we know that with that sincere vibration, with a truthful vibration within ourselves, wherein we can listen to that little voice, it won't be a little voice, but it will be something that we want the world to evolve, the humanity to grow up. Just being mindful of the time. Is there any last takeaway that you would like to tell the audience or the listener?
Please look at where stress affects your life and understand that what is causing you stress is because of your own perception. Now, let me explain quickly.
Sure.
There is no real stress in our lives. It's what we think about what's going on. Yes, we can only control ourselves. We cannot control people. We cannot control situations. We cannot control time. And yet we allow those things that we can't control to cause us stress. But there is no stress. It's purely our perception of what's going on externally. We can only control ourselves. And stress is a killer. Stress causes no end of diseases. So if you can understand what's stressing you out, take back control from what you can take control of and let go of what you can't control, your life will be easier.
Again, I would say the same thing what I mentioned to the one of the fellow guest is that at times for us when people are listening, yeah, you are sitting in an seems to be bright and sunny, it seems to be all okay, your family seems to be okay, at least of what the projections are. But this is what I've gone through. I've year has started, I've lost my job, I've lost maybe people in my family, I've lost this particular thing, I've lost that particular thing. There is so many things. I need to pay my rent, I need to pay my mortgage, I need to pay, I don't know where my next meals are coming in. What would you say on that particular matter?
It matters, but it's still perception.
Okay.
If we come into our heart and come from a place of love and give out love, love heals. When we sit and feel into lack, we draw more lack to us.
Mm-hmm.
If we sit and feel into love and gratitude for everything that we've been, everything that we've got, everything that we've been through,
Okay.
and express gratitude for it, we draw more things into our lives.
So, guys, for few of y'all would know on what's to be done, but if there are questions pertaining to this particular thing about how to draw the more of abundance, the more it's not about control, but how to surrender, how to feel the wellness within you, and in that process, the dis-ease which is within you can be healed. So, anyway, Sarah, I would just like to continue with this conversation, but just being mindful of the time. This has been such an amazing journey. The last half an hour odd has been something which was like, wow, guys, there are a lot of nuggets. If you all have gone through it, and if there are any questions which you would like to ask me or Sarah on what's the next steps, we have got our links, you have got the connections. Please feel free to jump in and ask for it. Sarah, a huge, huge thank you. Best wishes for the year ahead. And I would say is that be the blessing that you have been. Be well. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Thomas. I appreciate you.
Thank you so very much. Let me just stop.